Hi, this is Dr. Georgia. I hope you find today's message a blessing in your life. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these video messages for you when you can't come to church, or for those of you who live in a different state, or we noticed recently we have a lot of people in even different countries who are tuning in. So if that is you and you can donate to us, we invite you to hit that donate button just below the message here. So thanks so much. All right, let's prepare ourselves, and you put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. And now over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And now over your heart, and just extend out your arm, I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that you are creative right now. You are creative. You don't have to go anywhere to get more creativity. Now, you may have to go somewhere here and other places to learn how to uncover the creativity that God already sent you here with, but you have a full measure of creativity within you right now. A lot of times, you and I think that people who are creative are the ones who write music or poetry or songs or books or fine arts and that kind of thing. But the truth is that each one of us uses creativity every day to make our lives better. We look at our lives, we find out how we want to make it better, and we creatively think of some solutions. I want to show you just a few of just everyday people who came across or who developed some great creative solutions. This woman was a shopper, and she also was a skateboarder, and so she just decided that she'd be a skateboard shopper in her life. This kid found an umbrella that you could actually look through and not fall down. This family wanted to dust their floors, and so they put a duster on their baby and sent him off on his way. This woman didn't have a partner right then, so she wanted to be cuddling with somebody, so she made a cuddle pillow all for herself. I love this one the best. This is one who somebody got irritated always having their sandwich taken at work, so they developed this bag on the right to put their sandwich on. Safe. Kept it safe. This one is a mom who didn't want her baby to have water in the eyes, and so developed a little cap for their bath time. And this last one is somebody who wanted to feed their bird. You know, when you cut a French bread up, all this stuff is all over, and so she was able to recycle the French bread. Those are just some ways that we are creative all by ourselves. You know, the universal presence, whether we call it God or Elohim or the stuff or whatever we want to call this universal presence, has tons of ideas for us for every issue that we could possibly have in our life. And today we're celebrating a holiday that sort of reminds us to start uncovering that creativity that's already within us. We're talking about Kwanzaa today. We started out the month with celebrating the light that you are through Bodhi Day, the enlightenment of the Buddha, and then we went to Hanukkah, and then we went to winter solstice and Christmas, and today we're talking about Kwanzaa. It's the fastest growing holiday in any country where there is a sizable number of people of African descent. It's called Pan-African holiday. You know, the interesting thing for us in this particular church is that it really is founded on a foundational belief that we have here in Science of Mind called the creative process, which is you think up something and then you allow it to go through you and actually bring it on to the planet. The holiday began in the mind of a young graduate student from UCLA named Maulana Karinga. And in the wake of the LA riots, it hurt his heart. It hurt his heart to see how much upheaval was going on, and he wanted to do something. He wasn't sure what, but he wanted to do something about this. he understood completely why people were rioting. The injustice that he had endured and that his people had endured was enough. It was just enough was enough, and people snapped. And you know, people snap when things get out of hand. When enough is enough and things get out of hand, whether it's something that we as a society let get out of hand or we as individuals let get out of hand. It's why the Jews snapped at Hanukkah. It's why gay people snapped at Stonewall. It's why Chinese people snapped at Tiananmen Square. If things get out of hand and they go on long enough without any reaction, people will snap. This video was so impressive to me because it was a call to action. It was a call to rising up. And that's what you and I need to start doing in 2018. We need to begin rising up, not in reaction to a behavior, not a reaction to an ism, but rising up proactively right now and saying enough is enough, and doing it with love, but with conviction. That's what Mahatma Gandhi did. He did it with love, but with conviction. It's what Dr. King did. He did it with love, but he did it with conviction. Right now, Van Jones is doing it. He's doing it with love, but he's doing it with conviction. There's a woman that Brenda told me about last night called Immaculée, thank you, Immaculée, who is a woman from Rwanda. And she was in Rwanda during the genocide. And her tribe was being brutally attacked day after day after day. Well, one of the people of the opposing tribe, the brutalizing tribe, took her and about 8 other women in to protect them, to hide them. And when they did, they hid them in the bathroom, and these women stayed in the bathroom for 91 days to remain safe, because they never knew when the soldiers were going to come through looking for them. 91 days in the bathroom. Now, I would come out of that pretty bitter, and many people would come out of that pretty bitter, but Immaculée came out of it understanding that she needed to rise up, but to do it in forgiveness. Now she travels all over the world talking about forgiveness. Not condoning, but rising up in forgiveness. Dr. Karinga rose up. That's how Kwanzaa got started, by rising up for him. He started the holiday with one of what I think Ernest Holmes did best when he wrote, "I turn away from the howlers. I use my creativity, but first I turn away from the howlers so I can take a minute to see where my creativity is." He said, look, you want to riot? Go ahead and riot, I get it. Racist, you want to be racist? Okay. But I'm stepping back from all of it. I want to find something that will affirm my people's wholeness, perfection, and completeness. And so he went back to his homeland. He went back to Africa. And when he got there, they were celebrating a holiday that they also called Kwanzaa. Has 1 A at the end. Ours has 2 A's. It's a harvest holiday. It's called First Fruits Holiday. And the basis of the holiday is 7 powerful, universal principles that are applicable to every single person. He brought those back. And here's the thing. This is an African-American holiday for African-Americans by African-Americans. But make no mistake, all of us, no matter what our ethnicity, no matter what our race, can benefit from understanding these 7 principles. It's not a religious holiday, it's a cultural holiday. But I can't find one holiday filled with greater spirituality than Kwanzaa is, with these 7 spiritual principles. And if we're willing, black, white, whatever color we are, if we're willing to study these spiritual principles, we will benefit ourselves. We will become better people. If we don't reduce this holiday to a Hallmark commercial, go to the mall, hot mess. If we don't do that, we can benefit from this. We can learn from this. So as always, we show respect to every culture that we celebrate during December by blessing an altar, and our teens have helped us out in every one of them this year. So we have 2 more teens. Will you come forward and bless this altar?
Good morning. My name is Natalie. I have the honor today of blessing the Kwanzaa altar this morning. Kwanzaa is a celebration of 7 days from December 26th to January 1st. There are 7 principles that are represented by the 7 candles. The 7 candles are placed in the kinara. The colors of the candles are black, red, and green. The first day of Kwanzaa, we light the black candle. It represents unity. The second day of Kwanzaa, we light the inner left red candle. It represents self-determination. The third day of Kwanzaa, we light the inner right green candle. It signifies collective work and responsibility. The fourth day of Kwanzaa, we light the middle red candle. It denotes the principle of cooperative economics. The fifth day of Kwanzaa, we light the middle green candle. It represents purpose. The sixth day of Kwanzaa, we light the remaining red candle. It represents creativity. And lastly, the seventh day of Kwanzaa, we light the last green candle. It represents faith.
Thank you, girls. How lucky are we to have these kids in our church, huh? Well, today's principle is Kuumba, creativity. And here's the thing, you're creative right now, and Dr. Karenga knew that. It shouldn't be lost on us that when we recognize creativity in ourselves, when we bring something from God's mind onto the planet on this earth, we're less likely to throw a Molotov cocktail. We're less likely to choke a black man because he was selling cigarettes on a sidewalk. We're less likely to toss a mean-spirited comment to our spouse. Creation and annihilation cannot coexist. Creation and annihilation cannot coexist. Our job is not to be more creative. We can't be more creative. We're creative. Our job is what the great poet Browning said, to loosen our imprisoned splendor. That's our work. To loosen our imprisoned splendor. Your creative abilities have never ever gone away. No matter what you've done, no matter how tired you are right now, your creative ability is fully within you right now. Simply covered up. We have to uncover it. Maybe it got covered up when you were a little person, because a lot of our creativity got stunted right there. You notice when little kids are little kids, if you ask them to sing or dance, they just sing or dance. You know, maybe when you were little, you colored the elephant yellow. And somebody, some grown-up with the very best intentions, came along and told you elephants are never yellow. And from that moment on, you wanted to spare yourself the embarrassment of stepping out, and so you covered up your creativity, simply to protect yourself. And here's the thing. For some reason, we adults who are closest to the children are the very ones who put this limitation around children, the very ones who limit the creativity of our children, not because we're mean, but because we want to protect them. We don't want them to go out and make mistakes. And that's one of the worst things that we can do. But you know, there's not a parent in this room, I don't believe, who's never made that mistake. My own daughter, when she was 2, she never wanted to wear a pair of shoes that matched. It just didn't seem reasonable to her. She had all these shoes, and she'd put one on the left foot and another on the right, and out the door she'd go. And I'm ashamed to say, I tried to stop her. I didn't want anybody out there thinking she didn't know better. And perhaps I didn't want anybody out there thinking she wasn't being parented properly. And so as a result, I tried to make her small. But fortunately for me, she had a strong little spirit. Every day she'd go to school with 2 different shoes. See, we need to do the spiritual work to throw off that course correction that we gave, that somebody gave us when we were kids. It's like a yoke around our neck, but the thing is, we don't even know we have it. We don't even know we're operating with it. So we're going to talk about, we're so used to it, we're going to talk about 2 things we need to do to begin to uncover the creativity and loosen our imprisoned splendor in this life. And the first one is acknowledge that you are fearful of making a fool of yourself. Just acknowledge it. I'm scared of making a fool of myself. And that alone will start you on the road. That alone will help you get better. See, affirm that it no longer speaks to you. See, the thing about keeping safe is it may save us from embarrassment, but it will never save your soul from growth. See, to have our soul growth, we have to make fools out of ourselves sometimes. The greatest compliment you can give anybody for worshiping here at CSA is the place where fools worship. So if somebody asks you where you worship, I worship where the fools worship, over in West Sacramento. The fools that think peace is possible all the time. The fools that know that teenagers with green hair and pants down around their knees and hoodies over their heads glorify God just as much as anybody else. Those kind of fools. Those are the fools that we want to do right here. The fools that think that they can repair broken marriages. That's the fools who worship at CSA, and that's a great thing. That's a fabulous thing. We have to ask ourselves every day when we get up, where am I imprisoning my spirit? Where are you living smaller than God intended? Because each of us have some areas where we're living smaller than God ever intended us to live. See, we're so lucky that we have ancestors that we can look at. We have people right now we can look at who are living totally unreasonably. Elizabeth Blackwell, the first female physician in the United States or Britain, lived unreasonably. And as a result of that, we've got people, women all over, who are major physicians right now, today. People in the the 3 women who started the Black Lives Movement, they were living and are living unreasonably. Alicia Garza, Patricia Kohlers, Opal Tomati, all living unreasonably. And because the Black Lives Matter movement is here, we're all having deeper discussions than we ever have had before. Colin Kaepernick, living unreasonably. And because of him, no matter where you stand on the issue of taking a knee during the anthem, we're all talking about it. We're having conversations. Why is it happening? What promoted it? What are people's reactions? Living unreasonably in our life. Dr. Karinga, living unreasonably. And because he lived unreasonably, he didn't get in. It must have been a tremendous draw for him to get in with the riots. But he said, no, I'm going to live unreasonably. I'm going to do something different in my life. Ask yourself this week, where can I live even more unreasonably than I live right now? Well, let's take this message in prayer. Knowing that there's only one power, it's the power of love. And so I take that power and I allow it to be the gasoline that drives me to live more unreasonably in my life. I don't know where, but I'm going to find a way to make a bigger fool out of myself than I've already made. Because I know I have a whole church full of people who will support me. I give thanks for this. I release this word into the lawn. Together we say, and so